Epictetus once taught that nothing is inherently good or bad. It's our judgments that make them so. Stoicism guides us in discerning whom to trust and respect, helping us navigate our relationships wisely. Today, we'll explore 9 types of people who, through a Stoic lens, may not be worthy of our trust and respect. Number 1. The gossipmonger. In our complex web of relationships, trust is essential. Yet some people, like gossipers, erode this trust through idle talk, revealing details meant to stay private. Take the example of Clara. Once a trusted confidant, her habit of sharing others' personal stories eventually left her isolated. What started as seemingly harmless conversations soon wove a web of mistrust, casting doubt on her loyalty and integrity. Stoicism teaches us that our words are a reflection of our character, and through them, we reveal the values we hold. Gossip doesn't just tarnish our reputation, it can damage our inner character, the core of who we are. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that we should value our character over our reputation. Our character represents our true self, while our reputation is merely a perception held by others. By indulging in gossip, we risk harming both. In Stoicism, words are not meant to be used carelessly or to create harm. Rather, they should serve a higher purpose, building trust, showing respect, and fostering unity among people. True Stoics understand that idle talk diminishes character and corrodes relationships. Epictetus taught that wisdom involves discerning what is worth discussing and what is better left unsaid, particularly when it comes to others' private matters. Clara's story reminds us that gossip, while often trivialized, has profound implications on how we relate to others. It's a subtle, insidious act that can plant seeds of doubt, suspicion, and mistrust within any relationship. Those who spread rumors may view gossip as social currency, a way to connect or to feel relevant. But in doing so, they often tear down the very relationships they seek to build, leaving people feeling exposed and betrayed. From a Stoic perspective, choosing not to gossip is a sign of self-discipline and inner strength. By resisting the temptation to engage in idle talk, we honor not only others' trust, but also our own principles. We maintain control over our actions and choose to respect the boundaries of privacy that hold relationships together. Let Clara's story serve as a reminder. Gossip may seem insignificant, but it damages both relationships and character. In Stoic practice, our speech should be purposeful, uplifting, and based on truth. Through intentional, respectful words, we build trust and foster a sense of unity with those around us. By choosing not to gossip, we align ourselves with Stoic values, strengthening our character and cultivating relationships founded on integrity and mutual respect. Number 2, the narcissist. Have you ever encountered someone who constantly demands admiration, yet rarely considers the needs or contributions of others? Narcissists, fixated on their own status, achievements, and validation, often overlook the importance of respect and empathy. They see others as stepping stones to feed their ego rather than as individuals deserving of consideration. Take the example of Damien, a person who always needed the spotlight and never acknowledged others' achievements. Over time, his inability to show appreciation for those around him drove a wedge between himself and his friends and colleagues, eventually leaving him isolated and frustrated. To the Stoics, narcissism isn't merely excessive pride. It's a fundamental barrier to genuine connection, mutual respect, and inner peace. Narcissists are consumed by the need for recognition and approval, which makes them blind to the importance of humility and empathy. This preoccupation with status and self-image creates a cycle of isolation and dissatisfaction, directly opposing Stoic values. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher-emperor, frequently emphasized the importance of humility. He noted that true self-worth is derived from a life lived virtuously, not from constant praise or external admiration. To Marcus, value lies in what we contribute to others and to the world, not in the amount of attention or validation we receive. A narcissist's behavior stands in stark contrast to the Stoic virtues of humility, community, and empathy. In Stoicism, true strength is shown through quiet resilience, meaningful connection, and the pursuit of virtue over recognition. Narcissists, on the other hand, seek to elevate themselves above others, often at the expense of genuine relationships. The Stoics encourage us to choose relationships carefully, aligning ourselves with people who display respect, humility, and authenticity. As Epictetus taught, we should surround ourselves with those who inspire us to grow in virtue, not those who lead us toward envy, resentment, or shallow pursuits. In choosing to distance ourselves from those with narcissistic tendencies, we protect our own peace and align with Stoic principles of integrity and self-awareness. Narcissists often view relationships as tools to gain admiration or validation, but Stoicism teaches us to approach relationships as partnerships in which both people share, uplift, and inspire one another. Stoicism also teaches us that in avoiding narcissism in others, we should remain vigilant against it within ourselves. Self-centered thoughts can creep into anyone's mind, especially in moments of insecurity or competition. Practicing humility and focusing on personal growth over public admiration helps us steer clear of narcissistic tendencies, fostering relationships that are genuine and fulfilling. In the end, Stoicism encourages us to be mindful of those with whom we choose to associate. Relationships with people who lack humility or empathy can lead to frustration and emotional exhaustion, while friendships built on mutual respect and shared values uplift and inspire us toward a more virtuous life. Let Damien's story be a reminder that while narcissists may initially attract with charisma or confidence, they often leave behind a trail of fractured relationships. By choosing friends who value respect, humility, and authenticity, we cultivate relationships that reflect Stoic ideals, helping us grow in wisdom, resilience, and true connection. Number 3, the envious. In life's theater, some people find it difficult to feel genuine happiness for others' successes. Instead of celebrating the achievements of others, they are consumed by envy, seeing each success as a reminder of their own perceived shortcomings. To spot an envious person, observe how they respond to others' triumphs. Do they share in the joy, or does a shadow of resentment cloud their reaction? Envy often reveals itself subtly through dismissive comments, downplaying accomplishments, or expressions of insincere praise. Consider the story of Marcus, a talented artisan whose co-worker Julia received praise for her exceptional work. Rather than celebrating her success, Marcus was overtaken by envy. He started to undermine Julia's achievements, making dismissive comments and attributing her success to luck rather than talent. The Stoic philosophers, deeply aware of the corrosive effects of envy, warned us that it acts like poison to the soul. Envy pulls our focus away from cultivating our own virtues and directs it toward the accomplishments of others, leading us down a path of bitterness and discontent. Epictetus taught that we should focus on our own progress rather than comparing ourselves to others. For the Stoics, envy is a distraction from what truly matters. When we're fixated on others' achievements, we lose sight of our own growth, potential, and goals. Envy is a destructive force that keeps us bound to the triumphs and failures of others, making it impossible to find peace or satisfaction within ourselves. The Stoics also taught that the achievements of others are not threats to our own self-worth, but rather opportunities for inspiration. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that every person's journey is unique, shaped by their own choices and circumstances. By learning to see others' successes as motivation rather than competition, we can align ourselves with Stoic ideals of inner peace, self-respect, and unity. If you've ever encountered someone like Marcus, an individual whose envy casts a shadow on others' successes, you may have noticed that their influence can be draining. Their negative outlook often creates unnecessary tension, sowing seeds of conflict in otherwise harmonious environments. When dealing with envious people, a Stoic approach encourages us to respond with empathy rather than resentment. It's also essential to recognize and address envy within ourselves. Envy can be a natural reaction, especially in competitive settings, but the Stoics advise us to transform these feelings into self-reflection. Ask yourself, why do I feel threatened by this person's success? What can I learn from their accomplishments? Ultimately, envy distracts us from the Stoic goal of cultivating inner strength and virtue. By striving to celebrate others' achievements, we free ourselves from the shackles of comparison and refocus on our own paths. True Stoics view others' successes as a chance to reflect on their own potential, drawing inspiration from those around them rather than resentment. So let us remember, when we celebrate the achievements of others, we affirm our commitment to Stoic ideals of harmony, self-respect, and mutual support. By lifting each other up, we create a world where individuals are valued for their efforts and growth, rather than viewed through a lens of competition. Number 4, the perpetual critic. In life, mentors who offer constructive, well-meaning feedback are invaluable. They help us see our blind spots, guiding us toward growth and improvement. But not all critics have our best interests at heart. There are those who criticize constantly without offering any solutions, the perpetual critics. These individuals seem to find pleasure in pointing out flaws, often without any intention of helping or supporting. If you've encountered someone who is quick to highlight others' shortcomings but rarely offers guidance or encouragement, you know the impact of the perpetual critic. This person finds fault with others as a habit, using criticism as a means to feel superior or in control. Rather than contributing to a healthy environment of growth, their words become obstacles to self-confidence and peace. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, warns against letting external voices overpower our internal compass. He reminds us that true Stoic growth comes from focusing on our own values and inner direction, not from listening to voices that exist only to tear us down. Constant, empty criticism doesn't aid our development, it disrupts it. Constructive feedback is designed to build and uplift, even when it points out our mistakes. It's delivered with kindness, humility, and a genuine desire to see us grow. But empty criticism, the kind so common from perpetual critics, sows doubt, self-blame, and often fear. It leads us to question ourselves, not in the spirit of improvement, but in a way that erodes our sense of self-worth. The Stoics teach us to guard ourselves against such influences, advising us to practice discernment in whose opinions we allow into our inner lives. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should neither crave praise nor fear criticism, suggesting instead that we evaluate feedback based on whether it aligns with our own values and goals. A healthy approach to criticism involves distinguishing between feedback that guides us toward improvement and unhelpful critiques that merely tear down. Constructive criticism might identify a flaw, but it also offers a path forward, a solution, or a new perspective. Empty criticism, on the other hand, is often vague, judgmental, or centered on personal biases rather than any objective truth. If you have a perpetual critic in your life, a colleague, a friend, or even a family member, the Stoic approach would be to remain calm and unaffected by their judgments. Understand that their need to find faults likely stems from their own insecurities or a desire to elevate themselves by diminishing others. Lastly, Stoicism also teaches us to be mindful of our own tendencies toward criticism. It's natural to offer feedback or point out issues, but the intention matters deeply. The Stoics remind us to choose our words wisely, always aiming to uplift rather than judge, to guide rather than discourage. In seeking a Stoic life, surround yourself with those who respect and encourage you rather than those who indulge in empty criticism. By doing so, you protect your inner peace, maintain self-confidence, and cultivate a life that's free from the influence of perpetual critics. Number 5, the manipulator. Manipulation can take many forms, from subtle charm to outright deception. Manipulators often rely on an ability to read and influence others, shaping situations to benefit themselves while concealing their true motives. Consider the story of Alex. Initially, his charisma and persuasive abilities endeared him to his community, and people were eager to work with him. But over time, Alex's true nature emerged as he began using his charm to subtly influence decisions in his favor. He spread rumors, twisted facts, and even feigned distress to avoid responsibility. Slowly, the trust people placed in Alex crumbled as they recognized his self-serving motives and saw the trail of broken relationships and disappointed allies he left behind. For the Stoics, manipulation is more than just dishonest behavior. It's an act that fundamentally opposes the virtues of honesty, integrity, and justice. Stoicism teaches that our words and actions should align with virtue, reflecting truth and fostering genuine connections. Epictetus warned against valuing appearances over true intentions, teaching that genuine character is revealed not in charm or persuasion, but in consistent actions aligned with virtue. To counter manipulation, Stoicism encourages the practice of discernment, the ability to look beyond appearances and assess the true motivations behind others' words and actions. Discernment involves observing how someone treats others, not just how they present themselves to us. Manipulators may initially appear generous, kind, or empathetic, but over time, their actions reveal inconsistencies. They might be excessively complimentary, making others feel special to gain trust or support, only to later use that trust for selfish purposes. If you suspect someone in your life may be acting manipulatively, the Stoic approach would advise patience and observation rather than immediate confrontation. Over time, manipulators often expose themselves through patterns of behavior that betray their intentions. Stoicism also teaches us to avoid participating in manipulation ourselves. In moments when it may be tempting to twist the truth to our advantage, the Stoic approach is to remember the virtues of honesty, fairness, and integrity. Manipulation may offer short-term gains, but it ultimately leads to isolation, as people gradually recognize and distance themselves from self-serving individuals. Manipulators may initially blend seamlessly into our lives, using charm and persuasion to mask their true intentions. But over time, their behavior disrupts the harmony of relationships and communities, as their self-serving actions erode trust. By cultivating discernment, we guard ourselves against manipulation, allowing us to navigate relationships with clarity and wisdom. Number 6. The flatterer. Honesty and sincerity are essential in all relationships, but some individuals use flattery as a tactic to gain favor or influence. At first glance, flattery may seem harmless, even kind, but when it's driven by self-interest, it can erode trust. Consider Thomas, a man known for his excessive praise. His compliments were so abundant and lavish that, while they initially made others feel special, they soon felt hollow. Friends began to notice that Thomas's praise lacked depth and sincerity, recognizing it as a means to manipulate rather than a true expression of admiration. Over time, his relationship suffered, as people came to doubt his motives and struggled to take his words seriously. Flattery is often mistaken for kindness, but Stoicism warns that it is, in fact, a form of deception, exploiting people's natural desire for affirmation. Unlike genuine compliments, which arise from respect and appreciation, flattery is a calculated act. It is used to ingratiate oneself with others, often with the intent to manipulate. The Stoics believed that authentic relationships must be rooted in truth and honesty. Flattery, with its superficial praise and empty words, undermines these values. When we rely on flattery to build connections, we create relationships that are shallow and unstable. To protect ourselves from the influence of flatterers, Stoicism encourages us to practice discernment and self-awareness. Just as we strive to avoid flattery, we should also be cautious of our own susceptibility to it. Recognize that everyone has a natural desire to feel valued, but not all praise is meaningful or sincere. Stoicism also teaches us to avoid giving unearned praise. When we engage in flattery, even with good intentions, we undermine the values of honesty and sincerity that are foundational to Stoic philosophy. Offering praise without substance is a disservice to others, as it may lead them to rely on external validation rather than seeking personal growth. In relationships, practicing sincerity means being selective with our words. Instead of giving praise freely and without thought, we should speak with intention, ensuring that our compliments are grounded in truth. By doing so, we contribute to building relationships based on mutual respect, where people feel valued for who they truly are, rather than for an image created by hollow words. When we avoid flattery and seek sincerity in our relationships, we align ourselves with Stoic values, fostering connections that are meaningful and enduring. We also protect ourselves from those who seek to manipulate us through empty praise, recognizing that genuine respect cannot be bought with words alone. By embracing sincerity over flattery, we strengthen our character and cultivate relationships based on truth and respect. Let us strive to live according to Stoic ideals by offering genuine acknowledgement and support to those around us, fostering bonds that are grounded in integrity and mutual respect. Number 7, the perpetual victim. Some people, rather than facing life's challenges with resilience and responsibility, adopt a victim mentality, continually placing blame on circumstances or others rather than taking accountability. This mindset often reveals itself in a cycle of self-pity, where hardships are exaggerated and used as a shield against personal responsibility. Consider Emily, whose friends initially felt deep compassion for her struggles and supported her through numerous difficulties. But over time, they noticed a pattern. Emily would always find herself in situations where she was the victim, and instead of seeking solutions or growth, she relied heavily on others' sympathy. Her friends began to feel drained, realizing that their support was enabling her to avoid taking responsibility. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control external events, we have complete control over how we respond to them. Epictetus, who faced great adversity as a former slave, famously said that our true power lies not in the events themselves, but in our ability to respond with courage, resilience, and acceptance. For the Stoics, our response to life's hardships is what defines our character, not the hardships themselves. Those who adopt a perpetual victim mindset resist this responsibility, opting instead to garner sympathy without accountability. In doing so, they rob themselves of the chance to grow, learn, and build inner strength. In Stoic philosophy, virtues like courage, resilience, and responsibility are essential to a meaningful life. When we face our challenges constructively, we strengthen our character and build trust in our relationships. The perpetual victim, however, rejects these virtues, preferring instead to dwell on misfortune and attribute blame externally. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate empathy, but it also emphasizes the importance of encouraging responsibility in ourselves and others. Compassion is an important virtue, yet unchecked sympathy can sometimes enable dependency rather than promote resilience. When we support someone going through hardship, the Stoic approach would be to help them find strength, encourage them to accept their situation, and guide them toward constructive solutions. If you have someone in your life who exhibits this perpetual victim mentality, a Stoic response would be to offer support balanced with encouragement for personal accountability. Listen to their concerns, but also help them see the importance of taking constructive action. Rather than simply offering sympathy, guide them toward solutions and remind them of their own resilience. Moreover, Stoicism teaches us to examine our own potential tendencies toward self-pity. While it's natural to feel disappointment or frustration during tough times, the Stoics remind us to avoid slipping into a victim mindset. Self-reflection and acceptance of responsibility are essential Stoic practices that keep us from dwelling on setbacks and prevent us from seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance. In relationships, fostering resilience and encouraging responsibility strengthens trust and deepens bonds. By encouraging constructive responses, we create a supportive environment that uplifts rather than enables dependency. Stoicism teaches us to approach others with empathy, but it also reminds us not to sacrifice our own peace or enable self-destructive habits. Let Emily's story be a reminder. While compassion is crucial, Stoicism teaches us to couple it with accountability. True strength lies in our ability to respond to adversity with courage, and by fostering resilience in ourselves and others, we create a life grounded in Stoic virtues of growth, wisdom, and integrity. Number 8, the person who lacks empathy. Empathy is a bridge that allows us to connect deeply with others, sharing in both their joys and their sorrows. It is an essential quality in building meaningful relationships, as it helps us understand perspectives beyond our own. However, there are those who struggle to see past their own experiences and concerns, lacking the ability or willingness to consider others' feelings. This lack of empathy can make interactions with them feel shallow or one-sided, as they may seem indifferent to others' struggles and dismissive of their emotions. Over time, this emotional disconnect can limit the depth of their relationships, isolating them from the support and connection that empathy fosters. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher emperor, frequently reminded himself of the interconnectedness of humanity. He observed that we are all part of a greater whole, and that true strength lies in recognizing and embracing this shared humanity. "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee," he wrote, stressing that individual well-being is intertwined with the well-being of the community. For Marcus and the Stoics, empathy is not just a personal virtue. It's a cornerstone of a harmonious society. Empathy strengthens the bonds that hold communities together, allowing individuals to feel seen, valued, and supported. Those who lack empathy may appear cold, indifferent, or self-centered, as they are often unable to recognize or appreciate the struggles of others. The Stoics valued empathy as a means of understanding the nature of others and extending compassion to those around us. They believed that empathy contributes to a more resilient, harmonious world where individuals support one another in pursuit of virtue and growth. People who lack empathy, however, miss this essential bond. If you encounter someone who lacks empathy, a Stoic approach would encourage patience and understanding. Rather than resenting their indifference, we might consider that they too have limitations and blind spots in their understanding. Stoicism teaches us not to expect others to change, but to accept them as they are, while maintaining our own principles. Stoicism teaches that we should reflect on how we treat others and strive to remain aware of our own biases and assumptions. Empathy requires active listening, the willingness to pause and genuinely consider others' perspectives. In practicing empathy, we align ourselves with Stoic virtues of humility, patience, and integrity, allowing us to grow not only as individuals, but as members of a community. In relationships, empathy serves as the foundation of trust. When we show empathy, we communicate that we see and value others as they are, which fosters openness and connection. Without empathy, relationships become transactional and lack depth, as each person focuses only on their own interests. Let us strive to cultivate empathy, remembering that it is one of the greatest gifts we can offer others and ourselves. Through empathy, we contribute to a more supportive, resilient, and respectful world, aligning ourselves with Stoic ideals of community, integrity, and compassion. Number 9, the judger. Judgment often arises from quick assumptions and limited understanding. People who habitually judge others tend to form their opinions based on surface-level observations, rather than taking the time to understand the complexity of another person's choices. Take Sarah, for example. She prided herself on her keen eye and would often make critical, offhanded comments about others' decisions, from lifestyle choices to personal struggles. Although Sarah believed her judgments were insightful, they quickly spread negativity, creating an atmosphere of tension and undermining her relationships. Her tendency to judge rather than understand often created division and discouraged others from opening up, leaving her isolated in her certainty. Stoicism teaches that true wisdom lies not in quick judgment, but in understanding. The Stoics believed that every person's actions are guided by a unique set of experiences, emotions, and values, which may not be immediately visible to others. Epictetus warned against judging others, noting that we have only a narrow view of their struggles, motives, and reasoning. When we judge based on incomplete information, we risk misunderstanding or diminishing their journey, and we close ourselves off from empathy and connection. Judgers, however, lack this patience and empathy, jumping to conclusions that often do more harm than good. Their judgments stem from a desire to categorize and control, often rooted in insecurity or a need to feel superior. But this critical mindset directly opposes Stoic principles of patience, empathy, and understanding, which are essential for fostering healthy relationships and community. If you find yourself dealing with a habitual judger, a Stoic approach would be to respond with patience and gentleness rather than defensiveness or frustration. Remember that their judgments likely stem from their own insecurities or limited perspectives, and that your response need not mirror their negativity. Additionally, Stoicism teaches us to reflect on our own tendencies toward judgment. Self-awareness is a central tenet of Stoic philosophy, and recognizing our own biases allows us to overcome them. If you find yourself making assumptions or critical remarks, consider whether these judgments are rooted in impatience, insecurity, or misunderstanding. Choosing understanding over judgment transforms the way we interact with others. It encourages us to seek out the good in people, to listen with an open heart, and to extend compassion even in difficult situations. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to approach others with empathy and patience, knowing that each person is doing their best within their own limitations. Sarah's story is a reminder that habitual judgment limits not only our relationships, but also our own potential for growth. In choosing to focus on understanding, we create a space for mutual respect, connection, and personal development. Stoicism teaches that true wisdom lies in observing, listening, and learning, allowing us to engage with others in a way that honors their individuality and promotes shared growth. As we reflect on the Stoic approach to relationships, remember that those we choose to keep close shape our journey. From the envious to the judgmental, certain behaviors damage trust and respect. Stoicism doesn't just warn us to avoid harmful people, it also guides us toward friendships that uplift and inspire us. So as we journey forward, let's seek companions who align with our ideals of virtue, wisdom, and growth. Together, we create a path to a fulfilling life rooted in genuine connection and shared values.